Hello, we're at Marcolina's. We're going to do another interview. We have Lulu. This should be very interesting. I've known you about 2-3 years now?
Like 8 years.
Yeah. So let's start away. Let's tell us your name.
Sure. Well, my government name is Luisa Padro-Bonano, but everyone knows me as Lulu because whenever I would introduce myself as Luisa, it's so similar to the variations of Isas, Melissas, Alicias that people couldn't remember Luisa. So I would say Lulu, and everyone remembered Lulu. So I was like, we're going to stick with Lulu. And it just kind of stuck. So Artysta.
How long ago was this?
Wow, 2010.
Wow. Okay.
2010. Mm-hmm.
All right. So what's your first memory of art? Before we go there,
sure.
Tell us a little bit of your history, of where you were born, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I was born in Fort Campbell. At the time, it was Tennessee, not Kentucky. Now it's Kentucky. But at the time, it was Fort Campbell, Tennessee. My father was in the Army, and my parents are both from Puerto Rico, so I'm Puerto Rican. And but my father had gotten stationed in Fort Campbell, and that's where I was born. And so I'm a military brat, an Army brat. I lived in different states, Kansas, and back to Tennessee.
Overseas anywhere?
No, unfortunately, I didn't get to live overseas, but I did go to Puerto Rico every year to visit my family, which was really awesome. But I've always been an artist. So ever since I could hold a pencil or a pen, I was making art. And my mom gave me one of her little purses, and I would carry around a notebook and, always jot down my thoughts and my drawings. And my aunt even told my mom, she noticed I was drawing my little brother in the car one day, and she goes, you need to put that girl in art classes because she just freestyled an image of your child.
What age would this be?
I was about 6 or 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your first memory of art? What's the first thing the first image that comes to your head when you think art at an early age?
For sure.
Yeah.
So I can remember going to Puerto Rico with my family, and when we visited my mom's family, they didn't have TV. There was no sort of technological, pastime. Everything was you get out in nature or you're inside reading something. And my mom gave me a stack of papers and some pencils, and she was showing me, look, this is how you can doodle faces. And she doodled an old man, and then she doodled like a little baby, and she doodled a boy's face out of the word boy. And she was just kind of showing me these little tricks of doodling a face easily. And that stuck with me. And I never really attributed that. It took me a while to realize, I think that's where that came from, is my style. So my mom just taught me. I remember even seeing an artist demonstrate how to draw a dog, and he did it out of triangles. He was like, look how easy it is to draw a dog. You just need some triangles. And that was fascinating to me. It was like magic.
Does anyone in your family, your parents, do art? Uncles do art?
So I have an aunt she's a closeted artist.
What do you mean closeted?
She doesn't sell any of her artwork, but any opportunity that she has to paint on her luggage or paint or make a cake, and the cake is just pure art, she does. And that's my mom's side of the family as well. So
I come from a long line of quilters.
Oh.
They all, not when I was younger, I didn't think about quilting being an art. But it is. It's considered quite an art now,
Wow.
So when you were in school, your early years, did you have any kind of art in school? Because I know I grew up I went from Chicago to Mississippi, which was a big culture shock.
Yeah.
And they had no art in Mississippi
Right.
whatsoever. In Chicago, of course, the schools had all kinds of art.
Right.
So where you were in Middle Tennessee, you said?
I was right on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky, a border town called Clarksville.
How big is that town?
It's slightly smaller than Tampa. It's similar to Tampa in that it's a military town, the way that we have McDill. It's slightly smaller than Tampa. I would say Wesley Chapel.
Do you remember any art from that era?
Oh, absolutely. So when I was in elementary school, I can recall maybe in first grade, we did take art classes. I never took formal art training, but I did take an art class in elementary school. And I recall us drawing the 50 states, but we weren't allowed to trace. This was our lesson of not tracing. And my teacher was so impressed by my drawing that he walked me around to all the teachers to show my art and was like, can you believe this? Look at this. Oh my gosh. Look at this little
Your
drawing.
age was what here?
First grade, so 6.
6?
Yeah, so around 6. And then in the 5th grade, I remember art class again, we got to draw the Mona Lisa with coloring pencils and crayons. And my teacher liked it so much, she posted it behind her desk for the whole year. That was like winning an Oscar, or like as for a fifth grader, having my art piece displayed behind my teacher's desk was like, I made it. You know, you couldn't tell me anything.
It's also strong motivation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, any kind of acceptance, that's when at an early age like that, that develops you into, you know, because most people when they get older, they start thinking they can't make realism. They can't make it look like the way they want it to.
Right.
And they quit art. And that's no real reason to quit, because some people paint or draw from emotion too.
Exactly.
So, you know, so in high school, were you exposed to any kind of art?
In high school, I actually did musical theater. So I did band, I did marching band, I was a flag twirler, I did show choir. But all of the visual art, I was just doing it meticulously at home. Again, I didn't really have any examples of successful artists. So as far as my career path was, I was like, I'm going to college, I'm going to study some sort of business, and I'll get into business somewhere. I'll become an entrepreneur, or, you know, maybe work for the music industry, because Nashville, right? So maybe I'll get into that. But I was always spending all of my allowance money, if you will, any extra money on art supplies and creating visually as gifts for people, because I was a broke college student. But I can make you a really nice painting for your birthday or your anniversary or something. And so, yeah, I didn't actually come across the idea of following my art as a career until I moved to Tampa in 2008, so it was 2009, 2010.
What motivated you for that?
I saw the movie The Secret. It's about law of attraction. And essentially, it's basically like, if you believe in something, you can make it happen. That's the end of the story, which, you know, you're taught that in every major religion. But there was something different about the way that they applied this. It was kind of like, this fits anyone. Like, you don't have to have a belief system for this to work for you. You just got to believe you can accomplish whatever you want and you can make it happen. And at the time I was working for a university and I was getting paid really, really great, but it wasn't that satisfying, you know, feeling you get when you've created something from your soul. And I saw the movie and I remember thinking I think I was about 25 years old. I was like, who am I living my life for exactly? Like, I think I've checked all the boxes for my parents. Like, I went to college, you know, I graduated, I did all the things they asked me to do. I didn't like elope at 18, which was an option, but it didn't happen. And so I kind of came to the decision. I'm like, who am I living for? I really want to make art. I'm making art in all of my spare time. And I said, just do it. Let's see what happens.
But you have a partner in making art, don't you?
Oh, yes. Well, now I do. Yeah. So for the past going on 10 years, 9.5 years, I have my art partner, who's my husband, my beautiful husband.
Maybe we'll get him on here one day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, you guys definitely have to pick his brain.
Yeah. So how do you guys motivate to do something together? I mean, what's something that, do you search a project, or how do you get that going?
Well, it depends. If we don't have like a request or a commission to make something, if we have free time, then it's basically just like, are you bored? I'm bored. And then it's creating. Sometimes it'll be like, my husband will see a blank canvas and it's usually a piece of wood of some sort. And he'll just go crazy. He won't even tell me he's doing anything. He just takes it and he does something really cool and abstract and very free spirited, because that's like one of his major strengths is abstract art. And then he'll come to me and he'll hand it to me and he'll be like, put something on this. And it's this amazing background. I'm kind of like sometimes like, I don't even want to cover it up because it's so great. But I'll use whatever's there and try to incorporate it, and I'll create characters that sort of, are parallel to whatever artwork he's created.
Do you have boundaries where you do certain things and he does something for the art, or?
You know, in the beginning, it was like that. Like when we first started creating art, it was kind of like, ooh, don't mess up my art. But no, I think over time, you know, as we've learned each other and we like learn how to communicate with one another, we learn like what each other's style is and what we like and everything. It's become more of a, have you ever thought of doing this, rather than like, you should do this, you know?
Because every artist wants to hear you should do this.
Right. Oh, for sure, especially from a non-artist.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
you don't make art, but you know someone who makes art, please give me all the advice.
So let's back up a little bit. So give us some influences. Who's some influences in art for you?
Oh, for sure. So some of my idols are Keith Haring, for example, Jean-Michel Basquiat as well.
What do you get from them?
So I think it's the fact that they were able to achieve, what every artist hopes to achieve in their lifetime. It's success and notoriety, and I don't know.
You like the art too, of course.
I'm sorry?
You like the art too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the art is inevitable. That's going to be made regardless. I was making it before there was. That. Oh, for sure. That was going to happen, and it's going to continue to happen. Yeah. I think it's sort of trying to come to the point to where I'm able to successfully just live off of that and continue to do what I love, because I'm going to, but be able to fund that as well.
That's one of the hardest things for people, is to get the enjoyment and also be able to be functioning as an artist, to live as an artist. Mm-hmm. That's the fine balance that a lot of people have. Even I have a hard time finding that balance, So drop some more names on some artists.
Yeah, for sure. So Romero Brito, who's a Brazilian artist, he's based out of Miami. He was actually a really big idol of mine before I knew anything about art, actually, in terms of pop art and merchandising. Like, he merchandises a lot of his art. He has so many collectors, and it's not like the collector that's unreachable. It's like your neighbor is his collector. So that's really admirable. And let's see, there's Scent Rock, who is a street artist based out of Chicago. He's a muralist, similar style to mine, kind of. I was following him kind of at the beginning. He created a mural here with some other artists. And
is it still here?
It is. It's over by the, it's like the Oriental Market off of Franklin in Tampa.
Yeah. I ride by that.
It's the three people in the convertible. Anyhow.
Yeah.
So I started following him back then when that mural first popped up, and just watched his career completely explode. Now he's making merchandise for the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, wow.
So it's just something like, wow, I don't want to say kid. I say kid, but like we're probably the same age. But he, comes from the inner city of Chicago, and he was able to establish himself as an artist and create this, where he's actually creating artwork and rubbing elbows with other major artists. So
that's where I lived in downtown Chicago till I was about 12.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we moved to Joliet, and then Mississippi. So we've covered a lot of this. You've had some murals around town. Tell people where they can be seen at.
Sure. So currently we have one on Nebraska Avenue near, right in between Osborne and MLK. It's on Southern Brewing and Winemaking. It's a really large mural. We painted that for Fresh Fest, I believe it was February or March of 2020. And then COVID happened, and then Fresh Fest hasn't resumed since then. So I'm hoping that maybe something will come of that. But that's one. Right here in Ybor City, right on Crowbar, on the outside of exterior of Crowbar on 18th. Mm-hmm. There's a mural of Ybor City rooster and some flowers, and it says like Ybor City established. And then there's another one. It's kind of a stained glass style piece. And above it in Latin, it says Church of Music and Church of Art. And so one of them, it has like a band performing, and so that's another really great one. There's a mural inside of Crowbar in the courtyard as well that was sponsored by Jaeger. And that one's a really fun one I had just completed. I'm trying to remember.
King Corona.
Oh, right. We're working. That's right. Thank you. That's a project right now we're working on is King Corona.
And then you did something at a cigar factory over
there? Right, the Cathedral. Thank you for reminding me. Grand Cathedral Cigars, which is on Florida Avenue. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. It's so much to remember. But my husband and I, we painted all of the windows.
How long did this take you?
Oh my God, months. It was a project. We started it like around January, and I think we finished it like about March, April. But then we would finish something and it'd be like, hey, we came up with another thing. We're thinking about this over here. So almost, I'm not sure.
How did you get this? How did you find about this?
Well, we were referred by a neighbor of ours who's good friends of ours who was doing work for them, and he referred us to the owners. Yeah. So it's definitely who you know, for sure.
That's a lot of things these days.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So, what are you looking for in the future? What do you really want to get out of art?
Yeah. Again, I think it's, I want to be able to like pay off my house with it. Like not have to worry about bills. I'm not really the type to seek like, oh, I need to get the Tesla and I want, the Louis bags and things like that. I'm more of just, I want to be at peace with where my bills are and have the freedom with my time to be able to create what I want. That's, I think, the ultimate goal.
People who are starting out in art, tell them how easy it is to get started.
Well, I mean, let's see, that's subjective. It's easy to pick up a marker and draw something, right? To get started in that sense. But to get a career started, you have to have a lot of ambition, a lot of persistence. You have to be prepared to be rejected by the majority of opportunities you go after.
Yeah.
But you have to basically go after enough opportunities that the 10 to 20% that actually say yes is going to be enough to meet whatever goals you're going after. So it's a lot of no's you have to be okay with.
So let's go over how you're connected to art in Ybor.
Okay.
So what's your first experience in Ybor with art?
So one fateful day in 2013, it was the summer, it was like the weekend of the 4th of July. It happens to be the same weekend that my brother and my now sister-in-law met. She was one of my best friends, and it was a beautiful story. We're walking through Ybor City, and right here that is next door to King Corona, which is now Cheeseology, had a sign with some art in it. Yeah. And it said, "The Wandering Eye, coming or opening soon." So I had just spotted it as they were setting it up. Mm-hmm. And I got the information for when their opening was, and I earmarked it. I said, I'm coming back in here. And I walked in the day of their opening with art in my hand. And I was like, you gotta see my art. I want to be in this gallery. I have 10 paintings. They're cohesive. And, they were like, okay, well, we'll meet. It was a co-op gallery. So not only did you have to be accepted on the basis of your art, but you also had to be available to work the gallery.
Yeah, I was in that gallery.
Right, weekly. And most of the artists were from the studios upstairs. Yeah. And so that's really how I got my start was, basically just being a volunteer for a gallery weekly. And that went on until, I want to say, the end of 2018, beginning of 2019 was when we lost our space.
Yeah.
So, that wasn't the end of me. As I met this guy, my husband, in 2014, we got together, and he introduced me to Crowbar. Uh-huh. And he said one of his opening lines was, "I know Tom, the owner of Crowbar, and he'll let you set up your art." I thought he was just trying to get my number. Like, I was like, yeah, of course you know the owner of Crowbar. And he really did. He was like, oh, yeah, he's like my brother. And it turns out he was actually telling me the truth. And Tom did. He let me set up. And back then, 2014, I didn't know anything about pop-up setups. I had no idea. All of my experience had been with galleries. And so I had like one fold-out table. I didn't even have a tablecloth. I didn't have the foresight to think of even getting a tablecloth. And then just some of my art on the tables. And after a couple of weekends of doing that, I was like, I think I need prints. It was like, not everybody has like a couple hundred to shell out on a painting. Yeah. Like, I think I need to start getting some prints. And it just kind of evolved from there. It was a really slow and steady process. So we're talking almost 10 years now.
So how did the reservoir start?
Wow. How did it start? Well, my husband likes to play pool there. And
so do I.
Yeah, he has like his weekly dart meetups there and he plays pool there. And so we would just go and the staff started to get to know me. And there's other artists who frequent there. And I want to say around 2020 when the bars were forced closed, they were allowed to sell to go, but they were not allowed to be open. And Lisa came up with the idea, what if we hosted an art walk here and, that way we can attract people. They could come get their drinks. They could stand outside and drink their drinks and we'll make a day of it. And artists were actually selling artwork. Like people were so hungry to just, I don't want to say socialize because you still had the mask and you couldn't get close to anyone. But people were so hungry just for interaction. They were coming out and buying art during, this very bizarre time in our lives. And so that's how that happened. And then it continued. It's been going on ever since, every third Saturday.
So let's talk about the award-winning Emmy.
Yes.
Can you say a little about that, please?
Absolutely. So I was approached by the Tampa Arts Alliance, and Visit Tampa Bay were interested in doing a mini docu-series, and it covers multiple artists. It's sort of like a spotlight on different artists that are on different levels of their art career.
You remember any of the artists in the...
Yes, Yala Ford was one of the artists. Oh my gosh, the names escape me.
I didn't mean to put you on the
No,
spot.
that's okay. It'll come to me probably as I'm speaking about it. But anyhow, just go check it out. It's better for the suspension. If you go to YouTube and you check out the Tampa Arts Alliance, they have the entire series posted, including my episode. And my episode is really about the emerging artists. It's my interview is in my home studio, and at the time, my home studio was my living room. And so it's very humble. I was actually kind of embarrassed about it at first because I was like, people are going to see behind the curtain. It's like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
The wizard. When you look behind the curtain, it's a little man. I was like, they're going to know I'm not a wizard. They're going to see me. I have a little desk that I paint on in my house. But it actually, the way the story is told, it's pretty much like anyone can do this. Like, there's really no excuse for someone to say, oh, well, I can't be an artist. I don't have an art studio. If you have like a little space where you can create, you can be an artist. Just maybe don't expect to like be at Art Basel right away. I think that's the thing that artists kind of go in with, the rose-colored glasses.
So we went over through your history, different art things. Do you have any projects coming up soon? Or?
Yes. Well, we have the King Corona. I'm also working on another children's book, which is the sequel to my last one.
Let's see, we didn't even talk about your children's book.
Yes, so the Hamaka Monster, which is the hammock monster, is a children's book that's written by Brenda Grullon, a good friend of mine, and she hired me to illustrate that book. So that one is still available. It's on Amazon. It's also on my online store. You can access it. But it teaches 13 words and phrases in Spanish. But it's all in English. But it does teach it, like different words and phrases in an applicable sense, so that through repetition, kids will learn how to say certain things, certain words and phrases. So now we're on the second book. That book did so well, we're on book 2.
So I know your husband gives you support. Any other family members support you in this art, or do they think you're crazy? Because I've had both in my family.
Yeah, definitely. So initially, now you have to understand, my parents are the first of their families to go to college, to receive a college degree. And so I was going to say brainwashed. I was told from a very young age, you are going to college. Like, there's no if, ands, or but. You are getting a college degree. And so when I did do that and I got a great career, and they were like, great, now you're going to become a lawyer, right? You're going to get your master's. You're going to become a lawyer, right? And I was like, yes. And I signed up for the LSAT, and then the universe stopped me. Because every time I was about to start my LSAT class, it got canceled. And then every time they rescheduled me, somehow they failed to communicate to me that it got rescheduled. So months and months had passed, and I was like, I need to do something. I can't just sit around and wait. And I went the art path because the opportunity came up that way. And so that's my history. But my parents, when I told them, I actually had to sit them down. They thought I was going to tell them I was pregnant. I was like, I have something to tell you. I'm quitting my job. I'm going to go back to school.
Well, that's a good way to brace them.
Yeah, I made a great dinner, though. I had, all the fixings at the table. I was like, I've got some news. And they were like, please, no. Marry him if you're going to have a baby. And I'm like, that's terrible advice. But,
yes.
But, yeah, they, at first, they were really hesitant because they still live in Tennessee and I was living here on my own in Florida. And I can understand, quitting your job, like, how are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to survive? By the skin of my teeth. That's a whole other story. That's a different episode. We'll go to that episode later. But now, I want to say in 2013 was when my mom started calling me an artist.
Oh, wow.
She's like, my daughter, the artist. And then my dad started seeing it, and he started saying, oh, you're actually selling art. And he would see sticker prices, and he was like, oh, okay, because they had never seen that before. They never knew anyone.
Because they're working people,
right.
They're educated, and they believe that's the way you do things.
Exactly. Now my mom brags about me.
I'm the first generation of college graduates, me and my sister.
Oh, nice.
So, is there anything you want to talk about that we didn't cover?
Oh, my gosh. So many things. Where do we begin?
Anywhere.
Things to talk about. I guess, one of my main missions as an artist, and from the beginning, has always been like to inspire people, and that's one of the reasons I try to keep my art like lighthearted, bright colors, light energy. I'm not really one to be like, I feel sad and then want to put sadness on the canvas, because again, I kind of feel like my pieces have this energy about it that wherever it's at, it can influence whoever's looking at it. So I've always wanted to like inspire. So I guess whomever is out there watching this interview, I'm hoping that maybe they're getting a little bit inspired in whatever your art form is. And it doesn't have to be art. Like, it doesn't have to be visual art. If your art is poetry, you know, there are people who they perform poetry on a regular basis. There's people who end up getting hired to write for other people or to write for, you know, musicians and etc. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. Culinary art is an art. If you love to cook.
Do you do any other art besides painting?
Oh, sure. Yeah, dance. Dance, music. I play the flute. I can play the flute just by listening. I can read music. I played the flute for many years. But I can play almost any Disney song. If I hear it, I can. If it's in, you know, C, I can play
it. So you play the flute, any other instruments, anything like that?
Well, I used to play the violin. I used to play the piano, but that was so long ago. I can play Jingle Bells and like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Yeah. But the flute is the one instrument that I stayed on long enough that I could probably go bust it out with freestyle.
Well, I had an accordion I gave away to Blake because my wife wouldn't let me play it anymore. She didn't like.
Oh no!
I'm terrible at it. It's a very annoying instrument. You might as well be playing like some killing a cat or something. So the way I play it anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm
not Weird Al Yankovic.
For sure. When I get around to playing Happy Birthday, there's like 2 notes that I kind of mess up. So it's like the first time it's like it's crazy. But my husband, he could tell you like, oh no, not again.
So music, when you're painting, is that important to play music?
Oh sure, yeah, absolutely.
And what do you kind of listen to when you're painting?
So I like Afro beats, house music, like a lot of like house music. I really like.
Is it more atmospheric music than really something you're going to be having to really listen to?
Yeah, if it's too lyrical, I like international music probably for the reason that I don't understand the words. Because if it's something that's like English music that I know the lyrics, my brain gets too fixated on that. Whereas like instrumental music is really good. There's like steampunk music. It's nice.
Right now when I'm painting, I like Jay Dilla. I don't know.
Jay Dilla, yes.
Yeah. Yes. That's I don't know how I stumbled across that, but I really like that lately.
Yes.
That and a couple other things, but he and a group called Sea Level.
Sea Level.
I like them. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know. Because I come from the punk rock era, Sex Pistols, Clash, all that.
Nice.
And music is very important to painting. So is there any conflict when you're painting together about music?
No.
You pretty much like the same music?
Well, when we do conflict in music, it's earbuds or headphones.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's easy.
But that's not very often. Okay.
I would say, like, let's say we're working on a mural together. And, you know, in that case, if we're working on opposite ends or something, then he's got his own music playing, I've got my own. But not generally. I mean, we do listen to a lot of the same music, so.
Okay. Yeah, my wife and I, we listen to a lot of the same music. So we've covered pretty much everything. Have you had any shows anywhere other than in Florida or in local areas? Or?
So I did in Miami. All right. I've had a couple of showings in Miami. I used to do Orlando a lot before I really got my network in Tampa. And I was like, forget driving.
What's Orlando like? What's that art scene like?
It's pretty cool. It's cool, but I sort of felt like you have to have your network there to get the support because people do show out. From the artists that I've seen in shows that I've done with other artists out there, their network shows up to their art shows and they buy their stuff. And then, you know.
When I was in New Orleans, I did all these portraits. I tried to make extra money doing that, but Jackson Square, you can make money, but you got to do them fast.
Oh yeah. Did they charge you?
I had a friend that he was a painter of. I'm not going to go into this one, but he paints clowns.
Okay.
And well, he wasn't a friend. I took a lot of classes from him. Unfortunately, there's a lot of clown paintings from mine out there. So, but let's get back to you. I see you do a lot of clothes, a lot of stuff. Have you had any shown the clothes anywhere? Have you had any exhibitions of just your apparel?
I haven't. I mean, I showcase them at, say, a pop-up or an exhibition, but I have not done like strictly the apparel side. Not yet. I did recently see something in St. Pete was done like that, and I was like, oh, maybe I can get into something like this and have a model walk down the runway.
Yeah, because a lot of, I think that would, there's an open show of clothing somewhere. I can't remember if they still have it or not. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you should do.
There's Art Pool, maybe.
Yeah.
Art Pool does something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you said there was a lot more to cover. What have I missed?
Let's see. I guess just the ways to follow up and find out about what's going on.
Go ahead.
So I do have a pretty decent social media presence.
Yeah.
So, which I found, I think, like really because of COVID, when everyone went virtual, that was the one way to stay in touch with everyone and really get out like what's happening. But I started doing TikToks. So I'm a millennial, so I'm in that generation where it's like I'm still not fully savvy on TikTok, but I'm doing them. I'm doing like the Instagram reels, so I'll do like my freestyle sketches. Oh, that's one thing. Let me let you in on how I make my art, right?
All right.
The how. So I want to share with everyone. I always carry around with me something to draw on and something to draw with. Oh, hi. And one of the things that I found really convenient to carry are priority mail stickers because they come in stacks.
Yeah.
And I'll always carry around like a pen and markers. I don't generally have a pencil because you need a pencil sharpener and it gets messy. And mechanical pencils, once you run out of lead, you have to buy more lead. So it's just easier to get a hold of a pen.
So there's your influence from Basquiat, right?
Right. I could say it's that permanent marking. There's no erasing.
He was showing those to Andy Warhol in small ones.
You're right. That's how he got his. Yeah. Does anyone know where Andy Warhol is? Because like I
He's
can maybe
in the ground.
sell him.
That's where.
Sell him one, or is he? Because no, I'm just kidding. No, I don't.
I had my picture made at his tombstone, so I hope he's there.
Well, in Men in Black, they showed that he was like undercover or something.
Well, Michael Jackson, Men in Black. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so I do these freestyle. I call them freestyle sketches because most of the time I don't have a reference. Maybe someone will walk by and I'll see something about them that I'll incorporate.
We have that in common.
Generally, it's not someone sitting in front of me. I have done. So I'll just kind of show everyone. And again, it's like I don't have the picture of the face before I make the face. All I have visualized is like an eyeball, is that first eye in the eyebrow. And then I draw a complementary eye. And then from there, I'll say like, well, this is looking kind of masculine. So I'll go with a more masculine nose or what have you. And whereas there's other cases where, like, for example, again, no reference. I just wanted to draw this one eye, and then it was just this initially. And then from there, I was like, let me go ahead and create another eye. And then I was like, well, from there, let me make the face, and what does the face shape look like? And so I post my freestyle sketches. Let's see if I have another pretty cool one. This one's a nice one. That's a fun one. The eyes was really like what my main focus was. And again, when I started off with this sketch, I didn't draw it and say, oh, I'm going to draw a guy. I didn't know, or I'm going to draw a little Guido. Like, I didn't think that.
So you don't have a constant character you go through?
I think it happens by accident, but not intentionally. Yeah, I don't have one character that I just draw over and over again. And I strive to draw different characters. This was actually a lady that was standing outside waiting for her ride. She doesn't even know I drew her.
Are these people in Ybor?
Yeah, well, most of the time, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I also like the faces of Ybor. There's so much character in people around here. I mean, this to me, I wouldn't live anywhere else in Florida. I live in Ybor, and I love Ybor. I mean, right now it's going through a big change again, and we won't go into all the political turmoil and trying to turn it into Water Street or any of that because this is like a Brooklyn of Florida to me.
I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's gritty. It's got character. And I hope that, they don't make it lose that. I mean, I know people buy a property because they want to because I lost my place in Channelside. We lost a cigar building. I know development happens in Atlanta. It happened to me in New Orleans, and it happened to me. So You know, developers are going to come in and they're going to change everything. The only thing we can hope is that they'll bring in money to buy art.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And because I also don't want to travel to St. Pete. There's so many artists over there, and it's they're so established with different things. I want us to get something going here. I think this could be a capital of art.
Totally.
Yeah, there's so many great artists. I've seen great artists over at the Reservoir that you guys have. I've seen, and then we also have a little competition here with the academia art versus the street art, but in a way that's a great balance
for sure.
And eventually that will come together too. In a way, we'll have somebody who'll connect all this together. Hopefully,
absolutely. And I mean, honestly, a really healthy market is the diversity. Is because no one artist is going to please every single buyer. No. It's not possible. No. And I found just
I don't know. Wait a minute. No, you're right.
But I feel whenever I'm selling my artwork, it's more advantageous to me when there are more artists around me selling as well. Yeah. Because I feel like it inspires people to spend their money.
It's like fishing. Honestly. Somebody told me the other day, which I'm not a big fisherman, but it's just like when they catch a fish, you want to catch a fish. I said, well, I don't want to hook somebody into buying my art. I don't want I want them to really enjoy it. But at the same time, I can see the analogy,
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's the conundrum.
We're hoping there's big plans here, for art. I hope so.
I think we're going to be all right, honestly. I feel like, we know the community. We're a part of the community. Yeah. And we know the regulars. We know the people who show up. We know the people who've been here. You've been here since the 90s. Yeah. You know the people who are consistent.
I've been here since the 90s.
You know the people who come out and, attend everything. We've got Michael's a perfect example of that. And I feel like the community is going to continue to show up. I mean, even if it's for a cheese board or what have you.
Cheese board.
Whatever.
I really don't understand what that place is going to be.
I'm not sure either. Maybe fondue or something.
But they had all these middle-aged housewife-looking ladies in there doing something the other night. I don't know what that was, but it looked kind of interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like, there's still a lot of stages. And I've only been here since 2013, which is significantly less amount of time. And I've seen so many businesses turn over in just that amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to hold on to hope that the community that we are is going to continue to show up for Ybor City and continue to support our events, like the art events that we have, the art walk that happens, etc.
And also the music venues, because I saw Lady Gaga. I got dragged in to see her at the Ritz, cool. And I thought, she'll never be nothing. So I left there. I know. And then talk about Tom's place in Crowbar. I've seen some of the best bands in the world over there.
Yes.
And then I remember the Orpheum over here. And then a couple of times I saw Public Image over here.
Okay.
And then I was in a band and we played someplace over here, some pub, I don't remember.
There's the Rock Brothers has a stage still.
I can't believe they left Ybor. I know. That was
such a beautiful venue.
That venue before was upstairs. They had a art venue upstairs for years ago, back in the 90s, and we had great parties out there. Theo and just different people. I won't drop any other names. Did you ever go to those parties? I know you did. So, is there anything else you want to cover? Or is there?
No, I guess just for anyone that's watching, you're probably already following me on Instagram, which is Artysta LuLu. It's ArtystaLuLu. Follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, also on TikTok. I'm a millennial, forgive me. On TikTok. And YouTube and all the other things. It's under the same handle, Artysta LuLu. So
we'll give
and my beautiful, handsome husband, my amazing partner in art, Indie Rock, and you can find him on Instagram, IndieRock225. So
all right.
Yes, thank you, Marcolina, so much for giving us the opportunity to do this.
This is our end of our interview, and we've enjoyed it very much. Come back with us. We think we've already had somebody else scheduled.